The darkness was absolute. Not a single star pierced the thick, humid air. The world felt suspended, as if holding its breath for what was to come. Midnight in the Texas Hill Country, where the river's gentle sounds usually lull people to sleep, was shattered by a monstrous roar. Lightning split the sky, revealing the river's surface boiling with rain. The Blanco River, once a friend, had become a battering ram, fueled by relentless rain. Its banks vanished beneath a wall of water, the current growing more violent with every passing second. Families awoke to chaos, lights out, cell service gone, water rising with terrifying speed. The familiar comfort of home was replaced by confusion and panic as icy water crept across floors. Parents grabbed children, scrambling for higher ground that didn't exist. In the pitch black, they stumbled through swirling water, desperate to escape the river's reach. Water surged through homes, filling rooms in seconds. Furniture floated, memories and keepsakes swept away in the torrent, as walls groaned under the pressure. People clung to rooftops and debris, fighting a violent current that swallowed everything. The river showed no mercy, tearing away anything in its path. At Camp Mystic, counselors became heroes, rushing sleeping children to the highest ground as the river's roar closed in. Their voices cut through the storm, urging the campers to move faster. The campers, confused and crying, followed their counselors through the storm, moments from disaster. Each step was a battle against the rising water and the fear that threatened to overwhelm them. The river crested at a record height, carrying cars, propane tanks, and shattered homes. The landscape was unrecognizable, transformed into a churning sea of destruction. For many, it was a desperate fight for survival in pitch-black terror. Every second felt endless, every sound a new threat as they searched for safety. For others, it was their last moment. The river claimed lives and livelihoods, leaving behind only silence and ruin. The hill country's serene beauty was transformed into a watery battlefield. Rolling hills and peaceful valleys became scenes of chaos and heartbreak. The true cost of this night was yet to be counted. As dawn approached, first responders braced for what they would find in the aftermath. The community would never be the same. Neighbors clung to each other, united by loss and the hope of rebuilding together. The river's fury had only just begun. Its relentless force continued to reshape the land, eroding banks and swallowing roads. The nightmare was far from over. As the storm raged on, the people of the hill country faced a long, uncertain night, forever changed by the river that came for them. It was supposed to be a weekend of celebration, families flocking to the hill country for sunshine, laughter, and river fun. People had traveled from all over Texas, eager to escape the city and spend time with loved ones in the great outdoors. The air was filled with anticipation, and the promise of a perfect holiday weekend seemed certain. Laughter echoed from vacation homes, campgrounds buzzed with excitement, and summer memories were being made with every splash and every shared meal. Children chased each other through the grass, parents grilled burgers, and friends floated lazily down the river, soaking in the warmth of the day. But then, the sky began to change. Dark clouds rolled in, casting long shadows over the festivities. The rain started, heavy but not alarming at first. Most thought it was just a passing shower, a brief interruption to an otherwise perfect day. No one panicked. People simply moved indoors, gathering in cabins and RVs, waiting for the storm to pass. The mood was still light, with board games and stories filling the time as everyone waited for the sun to return. But this storm didn't pass. Instead, it intensified, unleashing a relentless deluge over the river's watershed. The rain hammered down hour after hour, turning roads into streams and fields into lakes. The saturated ground couldn't absorb another drop. Every raindrop became runoff, funneling destruction into the rivers. The water rose with terrifying speed, brown and churning, swallowing everything in its path. The holiday was over in an instant. Playgrounds emptied, picnic tables were abandoned, and the joyful noise of the weekend was replaced by an uneasy silence. In Wimberley and San Marcos, fear replaced festivity as the river swelled impossibly fast. People watched in disbelief as the water crept higher, overtaking familiar landmarks and threatening everything they held dear. Familiar crossings vanished, then roads, then yards, until water was at the door. The landscape transformed before their eyes, and the sense of safety was gone. One survivor recalled, "One minute we were playing cards, the next we were on the roof, praying for our lives." For many, there was no warning, just a sudden, desperate scramble for higher ground. The suddenness made it deadly. No time to prepare, no time to escape. Cars were swept away, and people ran for their lives as the water surged through streets and homes. Warnings came too late for those in the river's path, sirens blared and alerts flashed, but the water was already there, cutting off escape routes and trapping families. The holiday had trapped people in the most dangerous place, right next to the water. Campers and vacationers found themselves surrounded, unable to reach safety as the river claimed the land. The river, once a source of joy and life, became the instrument of ruin. Homes, parks, and memories were swept away in the torrent. Children's laughter was replaced by desperate cries for help, lost in the roar of the flood. The chaos and fear were overwhelming, as families clung to each other and hoped for rescue. The community's heart was broken in a single night. Grief and shock settled over the towns as neighbors gathered to mourn and support one another. The memory of this weekend would be seared by tragedy. Water-damaged photos and broken homes became the only reminders of what was lost. The river's betrayal was swift and merciless. The devastation was total, leaving scars that would last for generations in a community forever changed. As the first light of sunrise crept over the horizon, it revealed a landscape forever changed by the flood. Homes submerged, streets erased, and a silence that spoke volumes about the devastation. Yet the true horror was etched into the faces of the survivors: shock, grief, and a desperate hope that somehow loved ones would be found. Their eyes told stories of loss and fear that words could never capture. 13 lives were confirmed lost, but it was the missing who haunted every conversation, every news report, especially the children whose laughter had once filled these neighborhoods. One family's tragedy stood out: parents found alive, but their children swept away by the raging waters, leaving behind only memories and unanswered prayers. At Camp Mystic, relief washed over as all campers were accounted for and safe, but the terror of the night lingered in every embrace and every whispered word. Elsewhere, not every family was so fortunate. Many searched through the wreckage, clinging to hope as they sifted through the remains of their lives. The search for missing children became the community's singular, urgent focus. Day and night, search parties pressed on, refusing to give up. "Have you seen my son?" echoed along the muddy riverbanks, the question growing more desperate as hope faded with each passing hour. Volunteers and rescue crews scoured debris fields, calling out names, searching for any sign, clinging to the possibility of a miracle amid the devastation. As the hours dragged on, the grim reality set in. Rescue efforts slowly shifted to recovery and the weight of loss grew heavier. The emotional toll was immeasurable, families caught in a painful limbo suspended between hope and heartbreak, waiting for news that might never come. "The not knowing is the worst part," whispered one mother, clutching a photograph, her tears a testament to the agony of uncertainty. For these families, the nightmare did not end when the floodwaters receded. The pain lingered, woven into every ruined photograph and shattered home. Their agony was silent, deeply personal, and seemingly unending, shared only in quiet vigils and tearful embraces. The community's loss was beyond words, a collective grief that would echo for years, binding neighbors together in sorrow and resilience. In the aftermath, one question echoed: why wasn't there more warning? Survivors were asleep, unaware, as alerts came too late or not at all. Emergency systems, reverse calls, mobile alerts, sirens, failed to keep pace with the river's rise. The Blanco River surged over 26 feet in an hour, outpacing technology and bureaucracy. Many were visitors, unfamiliar with local dangers, and cell service was unreliable. The systems in place were built for slower disasters, not a sudden violent flood in the dark. By the time the threat was understood, water was already inside homes. The lack of warning turned a natural disaster into a human tragedy. "If we'd had just 10 minutes, one survivor said, "I could have saved my wife." The system was overwhelmed, and the cost was measured in lives lost. The community demanded answers and change. Amid destruction, stories of courage emerged. First responders braved the chaos, piloting boats through deadly currents and rescuing families from rooftops. They worked for 36 hours straight, driven by duty and hope. The community became a rescue force, neighbors saving neighbors, strangers risking everything. One man used his fishing boat to pull people from flooded homes. Others formed human chains to save those trapped in cars. Camp counselors carried children through chest-deep water. Volunteer firefighters navigated debris fields searching for life. Many rescuers faced danger themselves but persisted. Their heroism prevented even greater loss. In the darkness, these acts of bravery shone bright. The bonds of community were forged stronger in the flood. Their actions will be remembered forever. The floodwaters receded, leaving a wasteland of mud, rock, and ruin. The Blanco River carved a new path, uprooting century-old trees and erasing neighborhoods. Over 1,000 homes were damaged or destroyed. Landmarks like the Fisher Store Road Bridge were lost. Roads and power lines were gone. Basic services crippled. Cleanup would take months and cost millions, but the deepest wound was in the community's heart. The river, once a source of joy, was now a source of fear. Trauma touched everyone. Lost homes, lost loved ones, lost security. Grief blanketed the towns. Vigils and memorials tried to process the loss. Psychological recovery would be the hardest, longest journey. Children had nightmares. Adults struggled with anxiety. Rebuilding trust would take a generation. The Texas Hill Country, known as Flash Flood Alley, has a long, violent history with floods. Past disasters, like the 1998 Guadalupe River flood, were devastating, but this one shattered all records. The Blanco River crested at over 44 feet, dwarfing previous highs. The event forced a re-evaluation of what's possible in this vulnerable region. Historical benchmarks are now obsolete. Extreme weather is becoming more frequent and intense, raising questions about climate change. The rain bomb that caused this flood may be a preview of a new normal. The past can no longer guide the future. The community faces a terrifying question. Was this a freak event, or the start of a new era? The trust between people and the land has been broken. As recovery begins, hard questions demand answers. How can warning systems be improved to save lives in rapid disasters? Should building be allowed so close to volatile rivers? Floodplain maps failed. New restrictions and buyouts may be needed. Community preparedness must become a priority. Public education, evacuation routes, and practiced plans. This disaster is a wake-up call, a lesson written in mud and grief. The memory of lost lives, especially children, must drive relentless change. We owe it to them to invest in technology, policy, and resilience. The water will rise again. Will we be ready? The safety of Hill Country families depends on the answers.